you go to a scientist, a quantum field physicist today, and you ask them what's the unified field, they'll tell you it's made up of 4 forces in nature. There are only 4 forces in nature. The first one is electromagnetism, which is what gives rise to heat, electricity, light, etc. The second one is gravity, which makes the world go around and holds the planets and stars in their place. And the third one is called the strong force, which is the force that holds the nucleus of an atom together, that when you disrupt that, you get a nuclear explosion, so it's the strong force. And then there's a fourth force called the weak interaction, which is basically the force that holds the arrangement of the subatomic particles, which aren't things, which are actually mathematical ghosts, fluctuations of energy and information. Subatomic particles are more like ideas than actual things. And that's all there is. Gravity, electromagnetism, strong and weak forces, period, according to everything that we know in the world of science. And what the unified field theorists are now saying to us is that all these forces come from one fundamental force. They're all the same force. So electromagnetism, which is what? What's electromagnetism? It's light, ordinary light, which has a visible part and an invisible part. The invisible part is X-rays and cosmic rays and microwaves and radio waves and television waves and all the stuff that we don't see, but we know how it works because we use it to send fax messages to each other and speak to each other on cellular phones and surf the information highway on the internet. So that's the invisible part of light. And then there's the visible part of light. And ultimately, that's all there is. There's only light. Electromagnetic forces give rise to space-time events, give rise to gravity, give rise to subatomic forces. So when God said, "Let there be light," He wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was speaking literally. That's what came out of the cosmic mind, light. And you and I are beings of light. And when we go to that place in our awareness where we go beyond the appearance of Maya, of physical matter, then we do experience ourselves as beings of light, because that's what we are.
Now, you know that the basic condition of the self, or the egoic self, is one of very deep-seated sense of lack, of not enough, of not complete. And then it tries to fill that lack that it knows and feels almost continuously, except for brief moments when something has been put in there, and then for a moment the lack is not felt. It never lasts long. So it looks for the next thing, and it looks to the future, it looks to fill that hole that is always there, where I'm not myself, I'm not complete. And one of the main areas where it looks to fulfill that lack is in the area of relationship, the other person, he or she. And then, when that happens, the entire focus of the self becomes focused on one other person who is perceived unconsciously as the one who is going to complete me, make me whole. He or she is the one. So almost an obsessive attachment forms to that image, that form of that person. And sometimes the other person feels the same about you. You both feel that you are going to complete each other. And then you marry. This is where the films end. The director says, cut here. But life goes on. And then you start an ordinary existence, jobs, family. And gradually, it doesn't seem to be working anymore. The completion, the sense of lack comes back. He or she isn't behaving in the way that he or she should to make me feel complete, make me happy. You read it in ads, looking for man or woman to make me happy. Who could live up to that? and nobody can. And then the lack that was covered up by the temporary delusion that this person was fulfilling you, suddenly the sense of incompleteness, aloneness, fear re-emerges. But now through your mind you attach that to the other person and say, he or she is the cause for what I feel. You're feeling again the basic egoic condition. Many people have an enormous amount of complaining going on continuously in their mind.
And usually the complaining is about what was,
Yes.
or what they wish was.
Or what should be, but isn't
Yes.
happening, and this shouldn't be happening, and you shouldn't do this, and I don't want to be here. And so they always find something to complain about. And so these are ways of denying the present moment. And that's a very dysfunctional state, because you're basically denying life itself, because outside of now there is no life.
All right, then how do we plan for the future? We're all told that we should plan for the future. We shouldn't just be passive about the future.
No. Planning is actually fine. There's nothing dysfunctional about that. So the question is, are you losing yourself in the future, or are you simply using time and future on a practical level, where it's fine, it has its place on the practical level? But if you think that's some point that I'm going to reach in the future, now it might be the next vacation, or it might be when I find the ideal partner, or it might be when I get a better job or a better place to live, or live in a more pleasant city, or whatever it is, then I will finally be happy. And so yes, a continuous projection mentally away from the now, that's where you lose yourself in the future. And that's the dysfunction. And that's the difference, you could say, between, as I call it, clock time, which has its place in this world,
Right.
and psychological time, which is the continuous obsession with past and future.